back again. Cobra Den, it's back again.
We're back.
We're back. Fresh off of UFC 227. We're back.
Darn right.
It was a good fight. Last two fights were fun to watch.
Debatable fights.
Debatable fights.
Some awesome fights.
Some awesome fights.
A lot of decision fights.
A lot of decision fights. You know, I only caught the main card this time around. But
I was watching from my workplace, watching a bunch of decisions. Kind of boring.
You always tell me you're watching the fights from your workplace, but how do you even get to watch the fights at work?
So where I work, I am chilling behind the register area, whatever, and then I have a bunch of big ass wide screen TVs just right in front of me, so I just get to watch it. It's not even 50 feet away from me.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, nice. So can you hear it? Can you hear it?
I can't hear it, but I get to watch sports like football and UFC and basketball when it's on, so it's pretty fun.
Oh, okay, perfect. So, anyway, back to UFC 227. We're gonna run through some of the main fights on that card. We're gonna talk about Demetrius Johnson,
the GOAT,
aka, in the words of Coach Eddie, the Midgets Johnson. The Johnson. He kept saying that at the fights last night. And we're gonna talk about Garbrandt versus TJ Dillashaw. We're gonna talk about little fights that may, happen in response to this past card, and we're gonna talk about a little bit about the UFC fall schedule coming up,
and some other fun stuff.
A little bit of UFC gossip in there. All right, what'd you think about Demetrius Johnson versus Cejudo? We'll just jump right in.
I think he got robbed.
I
100%
disagree with
relatively got robbed.
I disagree 100%.
Okay, well, see the thing with championship fights is if you're gonna beat the champion, you need to beat him destroy him, beat him, not by a margin. You gotta really set the tone there, and I don't think Henry did enough to really beat him to win that split decision. It went to a split decision, meaning some people were like, it's up in arms, who won? And I think DJ won because, I don't know what the judges were looking at. They're looking at the takedowns. They weren't doing much. Even, I was watching the post-interview with DJ. He's like, yeah, he got some takedowns, good for Henry, but he didn't do anything with it. He just sat on me. You gotta do something.
I saw that same exact interview, and it did really make me think about it a little bit. I was like, those takedowns are what I believe made Henry win the round. Those rounds that he did win, but ultimately he really didn't do much with those takedowns. But in those same rounds, what I thought was that in those certain situations that he was putting the pressure on Demetrius Johnson in the 3rd through 5th round, just enough. And when Demetrius Johnson would come into close range, he would come back with at least 4 punches to every single one of Demetrius Johnson's one. Not to say that they landed every single one of those 4 punches, but I think that he was showing more activity than Demetrius Johnson was. Demetrius Johnson kind of was playing more of a runner style, and he was throwing low kicks, body kicks, and things like that. I actually just saw on his Instagram page that his foot is swollen as hell. Looks really bad, but that goes to show his kicking activity in that fight.
So, if we're gonna break it down before the fight even started, DJ was 27-2. His only losses were to Pickett and Cruz. All right.
Those are 35ers?
No. Yes. At the time, they were 135 because this wasn't when the flyweight division was around. So he only lost in bantamweight, 2 decision. He's never been finished in his UFC or MMA career. And he was on, I'm pretty sure, more of an 11-win streak. His championship reign was for 11 wins. That being said, he finished in his MMA career 5 wins by KO, 11 by submission, and 11 by decision. Now we're looking at Henry Cejudo on the other hand. Before the fight, he's won 12-2. Right? He's only won 5 by KO, none by submission, and 8 by decision. So that goes back to what DJ was saying. He held me down in the interview. He said he held me down, but he wasn't trying to go for anything. He wasn't going for any submissions. You didn't see him trying to grab his head, trying to grab his arm. He wasn't going for anything. And it shows in his stats. He's never gone for a submission because he doesn't go for them. He's never won by decision. You know what I mean? I'm not saying he can't do it. He obviously can. He's a Olympic wrestler. But he hasn't done it. So it's just weird that he just sat on him. He's just like, I'm going to grind on you.
I think that's an interesting, way of backing up that concept that he wasn't doing anything and just going back to his fights. But I think with the whole wrestling situation, you have to think about it's a moment, right? It's a moment in that fight. He was able to maintain the dominant position. Even if you can't really say that he wasn't doing anything, even though he wasn't punching him. Punching is not in my opinion, the end all be all of doing something in a fight. If you're maintaining a position, like for example in like IBJJF rules, it's more of a position over submission type of style jiu-jitsu tournament, and I think that style of grappling needs to be awarded just as much as a submission first type of style. And I think granted he kind of passed immediately to half guard and side control and still wasn't doing anything. I still think there's something to be said for at least getting the fight there and being able to hold him down for at least momentarily.
Before DJ scrambled like he always does.
Yeah, because even before that, I think there comes a point where if you're able to do that consecutively and consistently, like Henry was able to in the 3rd and 5th round, you can kind of get away with doing that style of a fight without really causing quote-unquote damage from strikes, if that makes sense.
No, yeah, that makes sense. See, my thing is just it's the way it's the fact that it was split decision is what bothers me. Because if you're going to beat the champion, someone who's held the belt 11 times, the only flyweight champion, or just a champion in general, in any weight division, you've never seen the competitor win by split decision and it be so controversial, because it just wasn't an overhaul beating of the champion. It was like a debatable. It was like, oh, could you? It was 2-2. Maybe the last round was debatable. I had it like DJ 2, maybe 3. Depending on, I'd have to rewatch the fight, but I feel like it was 3-2.
Yeah,
that's how I saw it, point wise and just everything. You have to really push the pace on DJ to say, oh yeah, you won by decision or you won by split decision. But I don't think that was the case.
I think there's that's where the problem with judging comes down to. When you hear guys like Dana White are always saying, don't leave it in the hands of the judges, it really. Yeah, it's easier said than done. You can't always win every goddamn fight in 45 seconds. Like, some of these guys do in the upper weight classes. They just knock their guys out really quick.
Do you think at the end of the fight, in the 5th round, do you think, I'm not even just saying Henry, but do you think both of them should have been trying to finish it? Do you think DJ, because the fact that he's only been the only flyweight champion, do you think he should screw this? I know what my game plan normally is, but I'm going to bite down on my mouthpiece and try and knock him out, or do some damage that's significant enough to say I won this round.
I think that they could have done a little bit, but I think at the end of the day, that's what I was going to say, is that there's different ways to influence the judges. And I feel like if you probably asked Demetrius Johnson if he squeaked that fight out, he probably would say yes. And I think if you ask Henry Cejudo if he thinks that he squeaked that fight out, he would probably say yes too. And I think that's because there's different ways of going about influence the judges. I think there's people who go about it by making sure that they dominate the time slots. Like you can see people they change their pace when it comes to the rounds. They kind of almost have like an interval based style. They'll go fast, beginning, slow. Like you look at Yoel Romero, for example, when he fought Robert Whittaker, super controversial. I thought Yoel Romero won that fight by a hair, right? I don't know if you saw that fight.
No, I did.
Yeah, some people thought Robert Whittaker won because it's the two different styles. You conserve your bout and then you try to finish that fight really quickly. Or like you Robert Whittaker and you just consistently kind of chip away at the points. And that's kind of what I felt like Demetrius Johnson was doing. He was kind of just chipping at the points.
Well, that was my point. I think because he was chipping at the points, maybe he should have been like, okay, it might just be even right now. It might be 2-2. Maybe I need to do something big and hurt Henry Cejudo, because I've already hurt him once. I already finished him in the first round before. Yeah. So maybe I can do it again.
I think I think that's what the thing was, is that he should have changed the pace a little bit, and maybe that last round, and he could have probably influence the judges a little bit more because they'd be like, oh, it was close, but he really finished, so that champion probably squeaked it out. But what I think that Henry Cejudo did a good job of was consistently going for those takedowns was what the judges were thinking about after each round. They're like, oh, he got the takedown, he won that round. Oh, he got the takedown, he won that round. So it's like you're playing psychology against these refs. Not these refs, these judges basically. You are basically influencing them to give you the nod at the end of the day. And I think there's fighters that are trying to win moment by moment type of judging decision victories.
Mm-hmm.
Like sometimes that's in the form of someone like Yoel Romero, who's gonna plan on conserving all his fucking brute, I don't know what kind of athleticism you would call that, but that freak athleticism for that one punch in the fourth round when 30 seconds go. And then he blasts Robert Whittaker and drops him really bad. There's guys that will literally game plan for those moments just to win the round. Or there's guys like Henry Cejudo where they'll literally conserve all their time and energy for that perfect takedown setup. And then once they get that takedown set up, they'll kind of coast the rest of the round. Because they won. They're ahead on the points, basically.
Yeah.
But I think if you look at it in those two different various ways, I think that Demetrius Johnson, if it was based on, like, damage and contact, Demetrius won.
Mm-hmm.
If it was based on who had more significant moments, Henry Cejudo won. So really, it's kind of a toss-up in the air. But what I will say is that the Henry Cejudo's significant moments were more consistent and they took up more time of the fight than Demetrius Johnson's point type of collecting those point style moments.
I don't know.
Type
It
of
just
division victory.
My only significant moments for the most part for Henry were his takedowns. But if you look at them in retrospect, he didn't do anything with them.
Right.
It's not like he gained a dominant position on top of him and rained down significant strikes, cutting Demetrius Johnson. Nothing. He didn't, I've seen plenty of fighters, regardless of what weight class, if it was the girl division, the guy division, get dominant position, rain down elbows, rain down strikes. He didn't do any of that. He just sat on him and just did nothing. So to me, it was just like, whatever. And when they're on the feet, I think Demetrius won.
I think what I will argue there is that to me Cejudo didn't really have to open up his jiu-jitsu game that much. I thought he all he had to do was stabilize just long enough to where Demetrius Johnson was able to scramble and get out from bottom, and then I thought he was doing just enough on the feet to win those moments too, because he looked a lot different in this fight. I will say he was holding like more of like a karate point style stance, like almost.
He's been doing that a lot lately.
Yeah, it almost looked like Conor, right? Like the way he would kind of like he would just hold that right hand and just kind of close the distance, bam, or wait, control the center, and wait for Demetrius to come in, and he would throw like 4 punches. And you like in that same interview, Demetrius was saying, he threw like 4 to every one of my shots. None of them really landed, but sometimes that's all you need to show the judges. The judges aren't the ones in there that actually feel like they don't know the intricacies of whether or not that shot actually got through a block or not, but the fighter do. Demetrius didn't look like he was hurt really at all in that fight, in my opinion.
No.
Not that I can recall. Maybe he got hurt.
I personally think he should have blasted his leg a lot more, especially in the first round when you saw Henry's leg do that weird fumble thingy. I would have been all over his leg, just kicking the crap out of his leg.
Yeah. So let's talk about that for a second. That first round, that was weird. What happened? Like, did he like trip over his like?
I think Henry said like a muscle gave out or something, but then it fixed itself later in the round. I can't remember exactly.
Like
he said it in the octagon. But
okay.
He said like a muscle gave out on him, and that's why he was like doing the stanky leg dance.
Oh my god! Imagine the memes that are gonna come out.
Another Kevin Lee incident.
Yeah, stanky leg.
No, but I mean, if I was Mighty Mouse, I would have been all over that. I would run. I would throw the hardest kick imaginable on his leg because he's fumbling already. I'm like, okay, taking advantage of this moment. Bop.
Yeah, I mean, I think even at that point, didn't he go for a takedown? I think Demetrius Johnson tried to take him down at that point.
Demetrius didn't really go for any takedowns.
Yeah, he didn't go for any takedowns.
No.
But
I personally think Demetrius, I really like him as a fighter, but I think he should have came out a little harder because one, Henry wouldn't have expected that because Demetrius doesn't normally come out like a power hitter. He doesn't come out there trying to knock you out. So him changing that whole game would have completely confused Henry. and possibly Mighty Mouse would have won again. You know what I mean? I mean, he already knocked him out the first time. Not knocked him out, but TKO. But still, I think it. I'm not saying the whole time stand there and be like, "Argh," and try to knock him out, but like throw some like aggressive stuff. Like get in there and not just like bop bop, bop bop, bop bop. But like get in there and grind it with him, man. Make it a dirty fight because he like. Cause I was watching all the interviews and stuff. Henry had the chip on his shoulder. He got beat the first time. He wanted to prove something. Mighty Mouse was just like, I'm just defending my belt again.
Yeah.
Like, it's not like the TJ versus Cody fight where they both hated each other. In this case, it was like Henry, not really saying he hated Mighty Mouse, but he had that, like, I need to win, that winner mentality, that, like, I need to beat him because he beat me. I'm an Olympian. I won this, and, I want to win the UFC belt. You know what I mean? And I'm not saying Mighty Mouse wasn't like nonchalant about losing his belt or not.
Yeah.
But it just didn't seem like he had that much of a drive.
Urgency.
Yeah. I think he should have had a lot more urgency in the fight to win the fight.
Especially in the later rounds, I will say that he should probably put the gas pedal. Look like he could have gone a little. Look like almost like they're sparring in some of the moments, right? Like the way they're kind of just footworking around. Not to say that there's not the strategic strategy of opening up the angles and things like that there. But I think that from maybe a technical point of view is that maybe the reason why he wasn't urgent to really put the pressure on him is just because in Henry Cejudo's last couple fights, he's really improved on his boxing, and it just seems like he's been landing that power shot, and maybe he was a little bit hesitant to, close in on that because you get knocked out or whatever, something like that. Nevertheless, though, I mean, as much as we don't like to see somebody win the title, especially from Demetrius Johnson, who's defended it the most ever in UFC history by split decision, it goes to show how competitive of a match it was and how much better Henry Cejudo's improved in 2 years to go the distance with him and actually, win rounds against Demetrius Johnson, whereas in Demetrius Johnson's most recent fights has been suplexing guys in arm bars, some video game shit.
Beautiful. Well, talking about that, let's go to what Henry decided to say at the very end of their fight. He challenged Cody, or he said the winner of the bantamweight belt. He says he wants to take on the winner, and in this case is TJ. So he wants to fight TJ. Now, I personally think it is not a smart move. You think it's a good deal. He's doing what Mighty Mouse wanted to do. Mighty Mouse was supposed to go up and fight TJ.
Well, here's the thing is that I thought was interesting. He said Demetrius didn't want to go up. He wanted these guys to come down. I'll go up.
Well, Mighty Mouse was perfectly fine with going up.
No, he said he didn't want to go up a way. He said if we're gonna do like for these belts, he's gotta come down to me. And
I thought he said that he wanted, or he was fine with going up for a super fight.
Oh, I heard that he wanted him to come down is what it was.
I feel like there's a lot of mixed communication because Mighty Mouse doesn't really he doesn't talk about it much because he's super humble, so he's not like the talking crap
from all the interviews that I saw of them both was that the issue with it is that, of course, Mighty Mouse had the shoulder injury. Once it was all starting to, the hype was starting to encompass and things like that, TJ said, oh, I can make 125, no problem. And in fact, TJ was starting to make his way down to that weight class once he won it from Garbrandt the first time. Mm-hmm. But then Demetrius got hurt. There, Demetrius sat out for a little bit, then they started doing the rematch again for both of those guys. Garbrandt versus Dillashaw, Cejudo versus Demetrius. Anyway, though, I think it was a smart move marketing-wise because let's say that they do the trilogy right away and Cejudo loses. Well, then you don't get the super fight then, right?
Well, no. You still get a super fight because Mighty Mouse.
Right, but
I'd rather see Mighty Mouse versus TJ.
I mean, as like a fighter, though. As a fighter taking the control of his career.
Let's be real. Not a lot of people care about Henry.
I disagree.
But what I mean by that is not a lot of people care about Henry, as in not a lot of people care about the flyweight division in general. Right. There's not a lot of fans. I'm not saying Henry doesn't have his fans. He does, and Henry's a good fighter. Don't get me wrong, but there's not a lot of pull for Henry versus TJ as there was for Mighty Mouse versus TJ, because Mighty Mouse is the pound for pound greatest. He's at the #1 spot. He is the best fighter in UFC history.
But he's also known for being the least marketed fighter.
Exactly, because he doesn't care. Because he it's not like he doesn't care, but he doesn't do what Conor does.
I guarantee you, within the next few months, UFC's gonna turn Henry into an absolute star. He's already a star. He's an Olympic champion. How can you not market that? He's the first Olympic champion ever to hold any...
Nico Montana is the first Native American champion.
Oh, very comparable.
I'm just saying. Where's her marketability?
But
no
anyway,
one's talking about her.
In terms of people, caring about Olympic pedigree versus Native American, what sounds...
Listen here, they're the first people in America.
But for him to be the first Olympic champion to hold any gold in UFC is such a huge thing that UFC is gonna market. You don't think UFC is gonna be marketing that? I think they will. They're gonna market the shit out of that, and UFC.
That's if he can hold on to his belt.
Well, that's the thing, though.
And if he doesn't get knocked out by TJ.
Well, that's the thing, though. If you're Henry Cejudo, you're immediately gonna want to do that bigger paycheck fight.
Of course, anybody.
You're not gonna want to do this rematch again. Why? Why go through another rematch and potentially lose that chance to get a big fight? You're gonna want to take that big check first, right?
Yeah, and lose.
And well, I disagree with that. Actually, I think that Cejudo's a tougher challenge than Garbrandt will be, or was.
We'll get to that.
Sorry. But I think that him deciding to move up is a good decision for many reasons. For one, he's had trouble making 125 several times in the past, so I'm sure he's gonna enjoy that extra taco.
He likes
or
his
two.
Mexican food.
That extra taco or two. Did you ever see that? He said that he missed weight because he had tacos the week of the fight.
Nice.
He said, I
feel that spiritually.
Right. The struggle is real. He's like, I had trouble cutting weight. He's like, I think I had a bad taco or something. I'm like, oh, the struggle is real.
Yeah.
But
some Taco Bell.
Yeah. So that's what this is my prediction for what's gonna happen. There is that I think that Henry Cejudo moves up. I think he enjoys his extra enchilada or two.
Gets knocked out.
And I think he's going to actually beat Dillashaw sometime in December.
How do you think he's going to win?
Oh, I think
Decision?
I think he can. I think he's going to do the same thing pretty much as Demetrius. Demetrius kind of proposed the same type of footwork and angling. And I think that he's just the stronger man there.
Let me break it down for you. So, Henry, yes, his whole career, like I said earlier, 12-2, right? In his whole MMA career, 5 KOs, or 5 TKOs, excuse me. The 4 TKOs he has in his MMA career were his very first 4 fights. His last TKO win was UFC 215. All right, that was versus Wilson Reyes. And other than that, every single fight he's had in UFC and Legacy has been by decision. So I really don't think him moving up, he's going to be able to finish TJ. If he wins, it's going to be by decision.
I think he could finish. I think he could decision fest him.
Okay, but I'm saying I don't think he can finish him, though.
Oh, of course not. I don't think... that's the thing, though, is that Dillashaw's way faster than Cejudo.
A lot faster.
A lot faster.
A lot
so
stronger.
he's more dynamic, so you never really know. Like, it'll be an interesting fight. I think that as like a solid, more just base type of style of striking, that Cejudo has the advantage in terms of dynamic explosiveness, being a better striker type of athlete. Dillashaw all the way has a better chance, but I just feel like that wrestling is just enough to nullify all that.
I just don't see this getting out of the second round.
You don't see it getting out of the second round?
I'm going to call it now. If that fight happens, TJ's going to win by the second round.
It's hard not to disagree with that being possible, though, just because, I would have to see some of Dillashaw's other fights against wrestlers is what I would have to do. I would be very intrigued by that matchup. I hope, Dana, if you're listening, put that fight together.
So speaking of TJ, let's head head into the TJ versus Cody?
Yep. I mean, first round. I mean, pretty much I felt like what that was a continuation of the first fight. If that fight went on another round, like if miraculously Cody didn't get knocked out or finished in that second round of the first fight, I feel like the third round would have looked like this first fight's round.
TJ's right hand repeatedly when they stood up was the best thing I've ever seen in my life.
Is line drill,
He
right?
was just like gunk, 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 gunk. Like Cody ate that for breath. He was like buh, buh, buh. It was pretty great.
If you like when we do the line drill and stuff, that's like it was so cool seeing that line drill just being able to play out like that center line. He just literally stood there. You could see him like he got hit with one right hand, and then Dillashaw saw. He's like, oh, that right is gonna land now. So he stood there. When he didn't even have to engage, he's like, screw this. I'm gonna stay in the pocket for a second. That right hand came. He just got his head off the center. Boom! Just blasted him.
See, I knew Cody was gonna lose as he entered the octagon. I said it out loud when I was watching at work, like, cause he looked so angry. He looked like he had a chip on his shoulder, which he does. But that's the kind of person he is, and he went into this fight angry. He went into this fight because he's mad at TJ, you know, holding this long grudge for whatever stupid reason. I mean, I know the reasons, but holding this grudge, and he was like, "Oh, I'm gonna beat this guy. Oh, screw this guy." And I just could tell he was gonna lose. His head wasn't in the right place. You know, you can be mad at the guy, cool, but it's like your persona throughout this whole fight camp is just not good. You're not gonna win. Your head's not in the right place. So he lost by beautiful fashion. And I called it, and I loved it every second of him getting punched in the face, and it was amazing.
Yeah, and our boy Anthony has some beef with Garbrandt. Apparently, he reminds him of childhood bullies.
Yeah, he reminds me of some high school bullies. So I like seeing him get repeatedly punched in the face.
Oh, but you know, it's going to be interesting for one to see where Garbrandt goes in this division from here on out. And I think that
since his only 2 losses are from Cody.
But it's one of those things.
TJ, excuse me.
Like, I mean, you don't ever want to say that. Oh, this guy's lost his chin. It's kind of funny. Like people are like, oh, I think he's gotten knocked out.
Chin. I'm just kidding.
He's gotten knocked out once, but like he has a glass chin. But you know what? What I've noticed is that with some of these guys that get knocked out, they just fight differently. Joanna Jędrzejczyk is a perfect example of that. Once she's been finished, she just hasn't been fighting the same. She fights a more manageable type of style, and I feel
Rousey.
like, yeah, that was a lesson that Ronda Rousey was never
Ronda got
learned.
knocked out, and she fought a little bit different, and then got knocked out again, then quit.
But I feel like that's what's gonna save Garbrandt's career at this point is just fighting a more manageable style. His style is very dangerous because he sits on his punches and doesn't really exit as much. Once he really starts throwing leather, he kind of sits in the pocket and wants to exchange. When you have a striking style based off of your ability to exchange on someone, you're giving a percentage for somebody to land a shot because that's what an exchange is. You're opening up so they can open up so you can catch them on the opening.
Yeah.
So you're banking on athleticism, which, you know, athleticism can be diminished by your angles. And that's what Dillashaw used.
TJ has beautiful angles. I loved in the beginning of the fight when he was just like doing this like
monkey style.
Like, what's up, Cody? What's up? Like, he was just like playing with him. He's like, oh.
He always does this monkey style
stuff.
Fight? It's weird.
You want to fight? He's shimmying his shoulders at him. No, but just like the faces he was making was just great. I'm just like, he's taunting.
Yeah, but I think after this fight, Dillashaw versus Cejudo, that's the fight to make.
I mean, I personally want Cruz back, but I don't even know if Cruz is even coming back.
What's the point of Cruz? You know, like he's one of these guys. Okay, you're injured, you're out for 4 years, you come back, and then you have literally like 3 fights. You win the title back, then you lose your title on your first defense, and you don't fight for a year.
That's what sucks because he was such a dominant champ, and he's
fun to watch.
He's amazing to watch, but it's like he's hurt all the time, and it's like it's hard to root for him. It's like you're stuck behind a desk now, dude. Like, just stay where you are. Because it's like I love him as a fighter. I would love for him to come back and get the title back and hold it for a really long time. But he gets hurt so much, it's like, I don't want this. I don't want that.
Yeah.
It's going to be boring.
But I also feel like his style was very much figured out in that Garbrandt versus Cruz fight, like almost a year and a half ago, 2 years ago. But yeah, his style was figured out. Boxing, clean boxing beats that style. Leg kicks, no problem. I feel like in a second fight against him versus Dillashaw, theoretically, I feel like Dillashaw smokes him, in my opinion, because I feel like towards the end of those later rounds, I feel like Dillashaw was finally starting to find his footing. But that's my opinion. That's that on that. We got a lot of.
So let's talk about some flying omoplatas.
Oh, flying omoplata! Shout out to Kevin Holland, local boy, DFW area. Yeah, good. That was good stuff.
So the funny thing about this fight, Dana didn't want him to fight on this card.
Why?
He thought he had too much of a big mouth. He said he talked too much. He like during UFC Contender Series, he didn't like his attitude. He just talked way too much, and he's just like, this kid's annoying. I don't want to sign him.
Talk during the fighting?
The whole fight in the octagon, outside the octagon, while he was fighting in the octagon, he was talking to Dana White. He was just talking trash the whole time, and he's like, I don't want to sign this kid.
He was talking trash to Dana?
No, he was just talking trash, and he was like looking at Dana and talking to him at the same time. It's like, this kid just talks too much. Just shut the fuck up. And so it's just
oh man! But if the guy had an Irish accent,
yeah,
no, it's the best thing.
So it was funny. Like Dana was just like, he talks too much, and the opponent that Kevin replaced got injured, and he's like, call Loudmouth up. Let's see if he'll fight. 2 weeks. He took this fight on 2 weeks' notice, and he went to decision. He lost, but he went to decision with a very powerful puncher.
Yeah.
So.
I know of Kevin Holland. He's legit. He deserves to be in the UFC. I hope he gets
Dana said he's going to get
another
another shot. So
good. He deserves it.
Awesome.
I don't see where else he deserves to fight. Was he middleweight? Was that middleweight?
Yeah, that was middleweight.
That's a division where we need to get more people in anyway. More athletic built guys like that need to be in the UFC. Middleweight's one of those guys. Middleweight's one of those divisions where at the top of the division, it's a little saturated with guys that aren't even that active, in my opinion. So any middleweights that can get into the UFC, the more the merrier. Especially a guy like that who I think he's pretty young. He's in maybe late 20s, early 20s.
Yeah.
Let him in there. Let him be loudmouth. Keep loudmouth in there. Flying omoplatas for everyone.
What our audience doesn't know, last week, Mr. Nation here decided to challenge me to a UFC game.
We're going to do this right now.
Yeah, we're going to do this right now.
Yeah, man. I got dismantled at, what was it, UFC 2.
Yeah.
But here's the thing, though. This guy said that he was going to, he talked a big game. I gave him a run for his money. I picked Edson Barboza, and it was spinning back kicks for days. In fact, in the beginning of the first round, I have witnesses to attest to this.
Witnesses.
I spinning back kicked Anthony's jaw off in this game and dropped him.
And by that,
he just
dropped me on the floor.
3 times.
And then I got back up and whooped his ass.
In what real life situation does somebody live a spinning back kick? That game is fake. It was totally against me.
Nation's just hating because I took him down and armbarred him in the first round.
Yeah, he did finish me like 4 different ways.
And then the second time we fought, I dodged multiple spinning back kicks because that's all you threw, and then I TKO'd you.
Yes, he whooped me. I haven't been training since because my ego has been demoralized. I didn't show up to training at all this week.
Send me a location.
But it's no problem. I will start training, and you will start to hear.
We might stream
more stories about
a
him
versus. Match between me and Nation.
I'm going to train. This is going to be an ongoing legacy here on the Cobra Den podcast. Is me training and continuing to get better and better at this game, and eventually I'm going to challenge Anthony, and we're going to live stream this battle, and I'm going to come out victorious. I'm going to whoop you.
So far it's 3-0.
Yeah, whatever. It's 3-0, but whatever. You're a veteran at that game. I'm a noob.
I've been playing it forever.
I'm a newbie. I still gave him a run for his money. You know what?
Run for his money.
I gave you a run for your money. I'm gonna get better.
All right, we'll see about that, but it was fun.
Rematch is gonna come soon. You guys are gonna watch. You're gonna have fun with it. So we got the UFC fall press conference just happened, so we gotta go through all those fights.
That was interesting.
You know, we don't gotta talk about all of it, but you know, I think the main one is UFC 229, Conor versus Khabib. The drum roll was necessary. Everybody's been waiting for this fight for freaking
Forever.
Ages.
I was just waiting for Conor to get back in the UFC.
Yeah, we were just.
I love Conor.
I wouldn't mind seeing Conor fight a squirrel, you know, at this point. So, I'm excited for that fight. I feel like this pay-per-view is gonna come up soon, October 6th. The hype and the trailers seem pretty cool so far. You know, sad that somebody gotta get cut with window glass for us to sell.
It's not even that bad of an injury. He barely had any cuts.
Somebody had to get glass in their eye for this to happen, but you know, it's happening. I'm excited. What are your thoughts?
My thoughts are I cannot wait to see Conor back. I don't think he's gonna have ring rust, and I think he's gonna put the works on Khabib. If Khabib is anything like I saw in the Michael Johnson fight or the Ally Quinta fight, Conor's not gonna have a problem beating him.
Yeah. How do you think that it's gonna go?
It's going to go one of two ways. Khabib will literally spam the takedown and only try and take him down the whole time. Or he will do a mix trying to attack.
I'm just gonna break the the awkward silence that's happening right now. So I'm going out of town here soon, and we don't have anybody to watch my cat. So what you're hearing right now is a voice recorded time release pet feeder for my cat for when I'm out of town this weekend in Mexico.
As if they can hear it.
So what we set it to was the sound of the Lion King intro. Right now, my cat's locked up because Anthony's allergic to cats, actually. Unfortunately. Otherwise, that fat boy would be running around here right now, and you would hear
him knocking all the camera equipment over.
But
anyway, yeah, so Khabib is either going to just try to take him down the whole time and be very boring and fighting him that way, or he's going to do a few takedowns and try to stand with him and then get knocked out by Conor. It's going to go one or two ways.
I think that if it goes past 2 rounds, Khabib wins easy. Just because I feel like he'll be patient enough to wear out I feel like he'll be patient enough to wear out Conor into the later rounds and maybe, you know, win the decision in the later rounds or something like that. But what I think more than likely is going to happen, I feel like Conor is going to be able to keep the distance in a way that Khabib's not going to be able to get the takedown without over pressuring and getting caught with that left, in my opinion. I mean, if you watch the Michael Johnson fight, like just seeing that, like him
wobbled Khabib.
Yeah, just to see Khabib humanized to a certain extent. Khabib humanized by getting hit, you know, makes me have that much more confidence in Conor and ability to close that distance that much more and land that left. And, you know, he's gonna play a counter wrestler style.
Yeah,
it'll be interesting.
Definitely.
I don't think he's gonna fight him quite like he fought Chad Mendes.
I think he's going to fight him more like a hybrid of Chad Mendes and Eddie.
Yeah, I agree with that.
I think it'll be good for Conor to win. Like, as much as, like, I was talking to Nation earlier about this, I really love the fact that Khabib has such a long win streak right now. Because you don't see this much in UFC at all. It's 26-0. Nobody, to my knowledge, has that type of record in the UFC. Boxing, you see it all the time. But in the UFC, it's very rare because there's so many ways to get finished. But that being said, even though I don't want his record to be tarnished because I am a fan of Khabib, I'm also more of a fan of Conor. And I think Conor getting his belt back, because he didn't really lose it. He just lost it because he was inactive. He lost both his belts because he was inactive. But and boxing, all the other stuff. But anyway,
right.
I just think it'd be a lot better, much better, to have Conor have his belt back because that's where the king should be, at the top.
Well, you say that, but do we really want to see the lightweight division in arms again?
Yeah, but
Like,
if Conor
how long?
actually stays here and defends it, then I'll be happy.
I don't see Conor's not that fighter anymore. Conor's not the guy who's going to be fighting. You know what I think is going to happen is that if he the only way that I see Conor being consecutively active is with big fights. He let's say best case scenario if I'm Conor, I sleep Kalabib and then Kalabib and then then maybe you get a super fight with George. That's been talked about. I don't know if you heard that. Yeah, George has mentioned that he wants to go down the lightweight.
Horrible
matchup for George, in my opinion. But it would sell, right? It would sell a lot. You got two major MMA superstars fighting. That's the only way I think that would wake up Conor out of the bed in the morning and get him to want to fight. Or you get a trilogy with him versus Nate Diaz 3, which is more than likely gonna happen.
So I agree on that. But here's my thing. So the trilogy fight with Nick, I don't want it because
Nate,
excuse me, I get them mixed up all the time. I don't want the Diaz rematch because I think it's
ever?
Really no ever. I just think it's a boring fight.
Really?
I just don't. It's just
a boring fight.
Not boring fight. It's just I don't like that he lost the first time, and I don't like it went to decision the second time. And even though I think a few times in the second fight, Conor could have finished Diaz because he did hurt him. You can see multiple times his eyes were like, "Rrr." But Conor didn't want to go down there because he doesn't like going on the ground. But I don't know. I mean, maybe in the future, yeah, I want to see that fight.
Are you on the Lucky Charms? Man, we need that fight. That fight needs to happen. That's such a fun fight. It's happened once.
St. Pierre fight would be stupid.
Yeah, of
completely
course.
Stupid.
But
completely stupid.
So was the Floyd Mayweather fight.
Yes and no. If he comes to the UFC, I would love to see Floyd get knocked the heck out.
This is the type of stuff that differentiates me and Anthony. Anthony's more on the far spectrum of the wild stuff. I'm more on the spectrum of for the fighters. I want to see the fighters fights.
No, listen here, Mister. My brain's not working. I don't even want to see these spectacular fights. What my dream for the lightweight division would Conor become king and just dismantle everybody, beat Tony Ferguson, beat Khabib. I mean,
why do you want to see one specific individual like Conor be the person?
Because Conor, coming up in the ranks, talked about how he wanted to be champion, and once he got his 2 belts, he kind of just forgot his purpose. So I want him to get back to his roots and become king, become champion, and hold that belt. We need another belt holder who can defend his belts. That's the whole point of having a champion, is defending your belt. And if you don't have a champion who defends their belt and they just lose it 2 belt defenses, then it's who cares?
I hate to spoil Christmas for you right now and tell you Santa's not real, but Conor McGregor is not that champion.
I want him to be, though.
He's not. The guy, there's a reason why the guy didn't fight in over a year and a half in the UFC. It's not because the guy doesn't like to fight or he doesn't want to fight. It's because he has enough money that he doesn't have to. And when you get to that point, it's no longer about, fight anybody, anytime, any place, anywhere, any challenger. No, it's fuck all that shit. Give me the fight that is going to give me the most dollar bills. And at this point,
I get he's a money
fighter. Him versus Khabib doesn't even compare to him versus Mayweather, but it's still
nothing's
good.
ever going to compare to
nothing,
his
right?
Mayweather fight.
Right. So what's going to pull him out of bed? Super fights, super spectacle fights. So that's either going to be, that.
Yeah, but if he only does this, then he's going to be rusty all the time. I'm not saying rust is a factor, but I'm not saying that's actual thing because we've seen plenty of fighters come back from long delays and whoop people's butts. But I just don't want him to be like, I'm only going to fight if it's a super fight. Because that's boring to me. I know Conor's never going to be this champion I want him to be.
Well, that's who he is already.
Well, I know that because he's all about the money, which is unfortunate because he was never all about the money, coming up. But now he got a taste of it and he's like, I love this. Which I don't blame him. Who doesn't want money? But it just sucks because I would love to see him be the champion I want. I want to see him defend the belt. Defend and have at least defend it 5 times. At least say you defended it 5 times. That'd be cool. Because then you have at least that under your belt saying, I was a two belt, champion. I defended one of the belts at least 5 times. So I was at least a dominant champion. Because in the UFC, when they go back and they talk about Conor's history, they'll say, yeah, he did really good getting to the belt. He got 2 belts at the same time and then just lost them because he didn't do anything.
Well, that's why his career has already been shitted on already. Because he hasn't legitimized himself. He has. Don't get me wrong. The guy's a bad son of a gun. He knocked out Jose Aldo, one of the greatest pound for pound fighters there ever was.
Eddie.
Yeah, and he went and then he moved up and
I still want to see the RDA fight.
Exactly. But here's the thing: like, do you think Conor's ever going to be that guy that's going to take suboptimal paychecks just to fight guys that are absolutely beasts? Like Tony Ferguson, that's the guy he has to get through. A guy like Kevin Lee, he's going to have to get through Kevin Lee.
Oh, he'll whoop the floor with Kevin Lee.
Well, that's not an easy fight.
I'm not saying it's an easy, but I think he'll knock him out.
Well, it's easier said than done. Saying it is 2 different things than actually doing it.
Oh yeah, most certainly.
Conor has the ability to just say these things without actually having to do them, and that's the problem with the rankings and things like that. Is we can create this illusion that this guy is the man and he's the God's gift to the lightweight division. Well, let me tell you what Conor really is the guy that was able to really shed light on the power of really getting into the public eye outside of fighting. And that's why he's the guy he is. And that's why he gets to choose these fights. But going back to my prediction of what's going to happen, I think he will overcome Khabib. And then I think that what's going to happen is that we're going to find out what's going to happen in Tyron Woodley versus Darren Till. We're going to figure out that's going to happen.
Till is a beast.
Did
you see them square up? That boy is big. He's a big boy. No wonder why he missed weight.
Yeah.
That he made Woodley look like TJ's older brother.
I think on depending who wins that fight, Conor may go up. I think if Tyron Woodley wins,
Conor would never fight Woodley or Till. He would get murdered. Those boys are big.
I
love
right?
Conor, but Till would fucking smush him.
Yeah.
He would just sit on him and smush him.
You're right, but
like that, he's 6'2".
I don't see him defending.
The boy probably walks around 200 pounds.
I don't see him wanting to defend his title against somebody like a Tony Ferguson or a Kevin Lee.
I don't know if Tony trips over another mic cord.
But you know what I mean? Like, I don't like the amount of money that he would make doing that, which would be a lot for most UFC fighters at that. I don't think it's enough to really get him up out of the bed in the morning to really want to go through a fight camp for Kevin Lee, guy like Tony Ferguson, or all these beasts at 155. 155 is an absolute Shark Tank of guys.
Shark Tank,
But that's my opinion, man. Maybe we'll get like a Floyd Mayweather versus Conor thing, but does anybody really want to see that?
No. I mean,
No.
From what I've seen on the news talking about that a while ago, like a month ago or whatever, they're talking about how, like, no takedowns, no elbows. It's like, no. Mayweather, if you get in the UFC, you're fighting UFC. You're going to fight MMA. You're going to fight with all the rules, or don't even get in the octagon. But let's move on from that because that's a whole different story. Let's get on to who do you think is going to win, Till or Woodley?
Till and Woodley, going back to that. By the way, that's in Dallas, which is where we're out of. Till versus Woodley. I got Till on that one.
I slightly have Woodley.
You slightly have Woodley?
Mm-hmm.
Just the power? Or
the grappling and the power.
I just feel like his energy systems, I feel like Till can wear him out.
I have Woodley in the first 2 rounds. After that,
I'm with you on that. I feel like Till has enough tools to edge out what Woodley has to do to win in terms of a whole fight. Woodley is banking on those first 2 rounds.
But Woodley also beat Stephen Thompson twice by decision, so clearly he can make it 5 rounds. And Thompson versus Till already happened and went to decision.
Yeah, the way that he was those styles really helped that Wonder Boy style helped Woodley be able to conserve his energy systems though. You see Woodley is a very muscular dude, very dense, not very long. He's just a beefcake is how I would say it.
Mm-hmm.
Really beefed up. So that requires a lot.
Till's a lot bigger than
he's a lot built. But the thing is that Woodley is an explosion based fighter. He'll close the distance so quickly, land those heavy punches, and knock dudes out. You can't fight that way for 5 rounds. So you don't see Woodley ever do that.
I'm proud of you.
Yeah, you don't really see Woodley fight that way. Granted, he could easily still clip Till, but I just feel that Woodley's going to be too conservative, and what I could see happening is Till being able to close that distance, really wear on him in the times that Woodley's being conservative, almost like when you watch if you go back to Strikeforce, when you watch Nate Marquardt knock out Woodley back in probably 2010 or something like that. But yeah, you go back and watch that fight, and you'll see what I'm talking about there.
But I think Till is just from the face off, he's just a big boy. He's a big boy. But I think Woodley can control him with his wrestling, because I think his wrestling is a lot better, and I think his power might be too much for Till, but we'll see. I mean, Till is 25, so he's young.
He is young.
You know what I mean? So we'll see if he can handle Woodley's power, see if he can handle his grappling. Another fight on the schedule is Dustin Diamond
Dustin Poirier versus Diaz.
Yes.
Dustin.
Stupid fight.
Why the hell did you take this fight?
Stupid.
That fight that's happening, that big fight that we all heard about in October 6th, you were the number contender for that.
Literally could have just waited.
Waited. You just fought last weekend.
You don't need to fight Diaz. It's a stupid fight. Just fight.
You're the number 1 contender.
You will.
Oh my gosh! If I don't know who his management system is, but that was a stupid decision.
I know that they wanted to fight in the past. I know this was already something that they wanted to do. But it's like, if he wins, okay, he's cool. He's still in the contender spot. But what if he loses?
Right, and I get it too, that it's like, you won't ever have another opportunity to fight Diaz, right? Maybe you're super confident in being able to beat Diaz, and Diaz is a big money draw now, right? Yeah,
debatable.
But at least with Conor he is, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think those fights with Conor made him a bigger draw, at least higher than his other fights were.
Definitely.
So I think that it's gonna draw some money, but it's not. I think people are gonna be surprised to see Nate Diaz by himself isn't as big of a draw as Conor.
Mm-hmm.
Conor's one of those guys that really brought the best out of Nate Diaz's persona, because he actually poked at him a little bit. Guy like Dustin Poirier doesn't really do that, so it's not going to be that big of a hype of a show or anything like that. They're going to only be talking about the past 2 fights with Diaz and Conor and things like that. But in my opinion, Dustin, you just fought a week ago. If I'm his manager, I'm saying this to him: you just fought a week ago. Let's hold off another 2 months. Let's see what happens at the final part of this chapter.
Who wins?
of this. If you look at the rankings as a bracket system, the finals are about to happen in October, and you sitting here just won the semis. You're about to see what's gonna happen.
Yeah.
My dude, just wait a couple more months, watch these guys fight, see who wins, and then fight the winner.
A fight I'm also looking forward to, which I wanted to talk to you about, fighters who are coming in the up and up, who are, I think, going to shock the world potentially. One of the fighters coming up, Yoel Romero versus Paulo Acosta. Paulo Acosta is a beast.
Yeah, he is.
He's a freak. That dude is buff. He's ripped. He knocks fools out. He gets hit and just keeps going. Last fight I saw him, woo-hoo-hoo, he
got hit a lot though.
He did, but he kept on coming.
You can't get hit a lot by Yoel Romero.
That is very true.
I think Yoel Romero knocks him out first 2 rounds.
I don't know. I kind of hope Paulo wins because he's 10-0. Keep that undefeated streak alive, and I don't know. Hopefully he learns to keep his hands up a little bit more.
Yeah.
Besides that, another fight I'm actually really excited for is Israel, the Style Bender.
Oh, Israel
versus
Adesanya?
Brunson.
Israel.
Derek Brunson's talking so much shit right now.
Yes, he is.
Saying, you
He's
skinny boy. You a skinny boy. But the style bender is going to knock that fool out. Derek, you stupid.
It's going to be a fun match for the striking heads out there. Israel Adesanya is an absolute wizard. Granted, he has like a freaking 10-inch reach advantage over everybody that he ever fought.
He's like John Jones.
Yeah, he's like John Jones. John Jones has the longest reach in the UFC.
89?
84?
I thought it was 89.
89? Look it up.
We're gonna
So,
look it up.
anyway, Israel Adesanya is somewhere 80, 84 inches. That's crazy huge compared to other guys. And he's a middleweight.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
84.
84 is
and
John
a
Jones?
half.
John
84
Jones
and a
is
half, yep.
84 and a half? Okay, yeah. So 4 inches shorter than the light heavyweight previous champion. Yeah, I see Israel Adesanya climbing through those ranks pretty
His
fast.
style benders reaches 80.
80.
Still
That's,
still really good.
yeah, he's 6'5". Did you know that? He's like 6'4", 6'5".
Really?
Yeah,
That
at
boy's
185.
tall.
At 185.
He's a tall boy.
Those 185ers are usually like 6 foot 5'11", but they're
Mhm.
just big.
Mm-hmm.
Man, that's crazy advantage.
Yeah.
But yeah, we'll see what happens there. Derek Brunson said at the press conference that he's gonna try to wrestle him or whatever. So we'll see. But that's pretty much it from the UFC fall schedule. There's some more stuff that's materializing right now.
So Nation, what belt are you in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu?
Well, thank you for interrupting me.
Excuse me.
I'm a blue belt right now in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. Yeah.
So, in a spectrum, how many belts are there in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu off the top of your head?
In a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, there's 5 belts. It goes white, blue, purple, brown, black.
All right, so most martial arts has a belt system. Karate has a belt system. Taekwondo has a belt system. Muay Thai, American version, has a armband system. Relatively all martial arts has some sort of ranking system.
Mm-hmm.
My question to you is, do you think, unlike Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, do belts really matter? Because why I asked that is because I had a coworker who was a black belt in karate, but he was training since he was a kid. So he got his black belt when he was, I believe he said 16 or 17. Does that translate skill-wise to growing up? Because I know people who can get their black belt at an even earlier age.
Absolutely.
Because they do all their training and stuff. But are they a black belt comparatively skilled to a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt? Because we all know if you're a black belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, you know everything. You are the bee's knees. You are the champ. Like, you are skilled. That is like, you can't say that someone who's a black belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu is not skilled. You know what I mean? They don't
Yeah.
just throw those around.
Absolutely.
And karate, I can go to a school and probably pay some money to get a black belt in under
They'll probably
3
give
months.
you the date of when you can get your black belt.
Yeah.
So like the way I explain this to people, and people often are like trying to compare the martial arts, but so what people need to understand is that martial arts are kind of broken up into traditional and non-traditional sectors. The traditional sectors are martial arts such as like kung fu, karate, taekwondo, things like that. Maybe you can throw jiu-jitsu in there, but I wouldn't necessarily throw it in there. The traditional martial arts are much region from eastern parts of the world.
Mhm.
So, like I said, like for example, karate, it has, don't get me wrong, there is a combative sport called combat karate,
Definitely.
and there's a combative sector of the culture taekwondo.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, I don't know as much about kung fu, but I'm sure there's a combative sparring form of kung fu and things like that. But the thing about it is that there's also another sector of those each individual martial arts where it's just about the traditional form of it.
Mm-hmm.
And the problem with these martial arts as a whole, karate, taekwondo, is that a lot of times the belt systems aren't like there's not a separate correspondence to the sparring compared to the actual traditional things that you're actually learning as material for your belt system.
I completely agree. I think there should be a difference, at least
Yeah.
like a marking on your belt saying I'm a blue belt in karate, but I'm this marking in combative. Or maybe
Yeah.
maybe they just have two belts that are separate. They wear this belt when they're doing their their whatever you want to call it, and then they wear their other belts when they're doing their combative. Because if you tell me you're a black belt in karate, right, and I'm like, okay, cool. I've been doing Muay
We all
Thai
know a
for
black belt
while.
in karate, right?
I've been doing Muay Thai for a while. You want to spar and I whoop his butt? Is he really a black belt in karate? But I mean, he is.
He
You know
is.
what I mean, he is. But did he just do the the training, the fluid motions and hitting all his points to get his black belt, or is he a black belt in combative karate? Because if he was a black belt in combative karate, he would beat me up.
I 100% agree with the direction that you're going with what you're saying. Is that there needs to be a differential of actually stating whether or not you're a black belt in combat sparring taekwondo or combat sparring karate, because we've all met that 10-year-old, or we've all met that soccer mom that's like, yeah, my 10-year-old daughter has her second degree black belt in taekwondo, and the mom doesn't know anything. She's like, yeah, she kicks butt. Yeah, she kicks butt at kicking boards and doing forms, but she doesn't know how to fight.
Yeah.
There's a difference. Like for example, having been exposed to the taekwondo culture through my girlfriend, who's a Olympian in taekwondo, actually Olympic bronze medalist, blah blah blah. But what I have learned is that actually in some of these actual legit sparring gyms for taekwondo, they don't even really belt test, because they know they just have to teach them how to fight.
Mm-hmm.
And it's weird that the sparring culture of these combative forms of like karate and taekwondo, they even make them wear belts, because people who actually like tested for a belt, their curriculum, it has nothing to do with their sparring. Nobody's ever got a black belt because they knew how to throw a back kick on a certain angle of sparring, strategy.
Well, just like martial arts wise, boxing is considered a martial arts, but
Right. It's not non-traditional. It's not
it's
traditional.
not. Yeah, it's not traditional, and it also doesn't have a belt.
Right.
They don't have belts. You just get trained, and you go and you fight. There's no belts in that. Just like, I don't know.
Amateur is amateur, pro is pro, basically.
Yeah.
So like that's where I feel like jiu-jitsu has a really good thing going in terms of belt systems, because you can compete fairly.
Mm-hmm.
You can compete fairly against people that there's sandbaggers, of course, when it comes down to it with belts, there's going to be sandbaggers, but it at least makes it a little bit more fair than as opposed to, all right, you're amateur, how about you 1 and 2 guy, you face this 10 and 12 amateur.
Mm-hmm.
That's not really fair, because that guy would probably be like if we were using the jiu-jitsu belt spectrum, he'd probably be a purple belt in boxing, and I'm probably a white belt in boxing.
Mm-hmm.
Why should I go against that guy?
Yeah.
So that's why, in one sense, I feel like these combative sports that are not necessarily traditional would benefit from having a belt system, but at the same time, I see why it's maybe not necessary,
Mm-hmm.
But it really, the belt systems breed a different culture of the sport that I find that I appreciate. That it makes it a more fair game. It makes the development of learning that much a better process,
Mm-hmm.
and makes it more how should I say it? It makes it more of an engaging process, because you actually know like where you stand.
Yeah.
Like you can kind of associate, oh, purple belt ought to know how to defend this submission, transition this way, learn how to pass this way. He should know these things, right? Whereas in boxing, they don't really teach you, oh, well, this guy ought to know how to slip a jab and throw X, Y, and Z.
Yeah. See, my thing is, like, I don't understand with that thought pattern why a lot of people go out and do karate class and stuff, because you can't say, well, they're doing it for self-defense or whatever, because it's not. They're not teaching people to defend themselves, and even if they are, they're not doing it properly. There's a lot of classes that are teaching these self-defense moves and stuff in karate, or these aikido or bullshido.
Krav Maga, bro.
Yeah, Krav Maga or whatever. And it's a bunch of bullshit, honestly. Like, there was this class that I commented on Facebook. I think they're an aikido class or something like that, and I said, your stuff doesn't work. Like, let's be real. Like, this, in a real life situation, your moves don't work. And he didn't want to hear it. But it's just honesty. Your moves don't work. Your little wrist locks are not going to work on me. I'm going to punch you in the face.
Absolutely.
Like, and it's like, I don't know why people waste their time doing karate if, you know, they're trying to learn self-defense in that matter. You know, if you want to do karate because you want to learn those cool moves or whatever, or if you do want to get into the combative side, that's perfectly cool. Or any other martial arts. But if you're getting into a martial art for self-defense, take up boxing, take up Muay Thai, take up jiu-jitsu,
for God's sakes,
take up MMA, take up anything that is actually meant to defend yourself. Karate, Kung Fu, I love Kung Fu. Kung Fu is an amazing martial arts. But
yeah, let me just add in there, we're not dogging karate, we're not dogging taekwondo. Those traditional forms, I feel like those are super beneficial for kinesthetics, for kids, teaching coordination, teaching you how to control your body, be disciplined with your own mind and body. Those things are all valuable, but they're not really applicable, is all Anthony is saying here. We're not dissing you. If you're a Kung Fu master and you own a gym, cool. We respect that, man. But you know, the practicality of it in a real life situation is not going to benefit most people.
Exactly. Like Nation said, you know, I love all martial arts. I just don't think there's only a broad scale of martial arts that are actually useful. You know what I mean? And that's pretty much it. Like, that's why I think the belt system should tell you, hey, I'm good in combative version of this. That's why Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu is relatively the only, and technically the American version of Muay Thai with their belt system, because once you get higher, you're like a trainer, you're a master, and all that stuff. But those are the only two that I can think of off the top of my head that actually use their belts appropriately.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, well said there. I think, you know, that's why we're in like a really beautiful time in terms of just the evolution of martial arts. I feel like that's why jiu-jitsu is really going to take over the world and be so freaking mainstream. And it already is getting to that point, because the reason being is because it's becoming that common substitute. People generally have a sense of what's BS in a real life situation for defending themselves. You know, if somebody's grabbing you by your back, you're not going to be able to do some weird, you know, yeah. All of that.
It works all the time. What are you
Yeah,
talking about?
people see the real life applications of being in guard and having to defend yourself, especially if you're like a woman, you know? If somebody's pinning you down.
Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu would be perfect for any woman who's trying to learn self-defense.
Yeah, in an anti-rape situation.
Exactly.
If you're listening to this and you have no frame of reference in jiu-jitsu or whatever, jiu-jitsu teaches you how to manipulate your opponent bigger, stronger, being on top of you, how to, you know, use their weight against them and being able to come up on top, you know, in a more dominant position. And
all
use their
those
leverage
videos
against
you
them.
see online about self-defense are not going to help you. And if you take a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu class, this will help you in any situation you get stuck in. And especially college girls, if you're listening, take Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. It will help you in any situation that you are stuck in, at any college party, at any creepy guy's house. Like, literally, this shit will help you.
Right, exactly. Like, but going back to what I was saying before, is just like, that's why I think we're in such a beautiful time for jiu-jitsu, is that we're getting such a huge demographic of people just wanting to learn how to defend themselves, joining jiu-jitsu, and in return becoming athletes as well. You know, imagine where jiu-jitsu is going to be in 10 years. You know, it's going to take over what taekwondo was and karate was for martial arts void of self-defense. When you hear somebody say self-defense, like when you go to a family party, you say self-defense, they're like, oh, karate, taekwondo, well, you must be one of them kung fu boys or something.
When I told my boss I did martial arts, he instantly said karate.
Yeah, exactly. He said karate.
Yeah.
But imagine if your boss wanted to get into martial arts, right? he's gonna probably do karate because that's the only thing he knows.
Yeah.
And granted, if you don't have a frame of reference, that's where all these business owners really capitalize on you because you don't know what the fuck you're doing.
You know how many karate schools there are around here?
Yeah.
So many random ones.
Well, that's because they get people to buy into their bullshit.
Because you can buy a black belt. You can literally buy a diploma for a black belt.
Yeah.
Like, all you have to do is, like, do a class a few times, and they'll be like, oh, pay me this much, I'll teach you all this, and this, and you'll get your black belt if you pass.
Right, and that has no application.
You can't do that in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu.
I don't care how good your left leg padachagi is through that wooden board. I don't care. I don't care how good your down block is. It doesn't mean that you can defend yourself against somebody who's way bigger than you.
If anyone's teaching you martial arts in their garage and they're actually trying to
charge you a membership,
please leave. Just don't do it.
But or call 911. But
if his name is Roger and he's wearing a bandana on his head, just leave.
Looks like the guy from Napoleon Dynamite, Rex Kwando. We're gonna have to put that in there. But you want to get hit with these bad boys?
I know kung fu.
Oh my gosh! But anyway, yeah, that's why jiu-jitsu's blowing up, is because people can really feel the, what's
or my
bullshit,
favorite
what's
word,
not.
Hujitsu.
Yeah, Hujitsu.
Hujitsu.
But when you step into a jiu-jitsu class, I guarantee you, if you come to a Cobra jiu-jitsu class, you can test out the techniques that day, no problem. They're gonna let you roll on the mats. They're gonna let you roll against white, blue. I don't know. Depends who you are. Maybe you get a black belt on you the same day. You're gonna feel how that shit works, and you're gonna be like, oh. This is real self-defense.
Yeah.
That karate stuff that I was doing, I was wasting my money kicking boards and stuff like that when I could have been learning something actually applicable. It's a good workout.
We're back. Hello, this is KRQ Radio.
We are back, ladies and gentlemen. Now back onto the love spell.
The love spell. Hello, audience, and you're listening to KRQ Radio, here with your co-host, Nation.
All right, let's close this bitch out. All right, so UFC 227.
It was an okay fight card.
I would say it lived up to the co and main event lived up to the hype in terms of controversy. Mm-hmm. I would say it definitely opens up things. UFC did a beautiful job of executing, getting the bantamweight and the flyweight on the same card.
Definitely.
I'm glad nobody got hurt and those fights were able to actually finally happen, so we can figure out the division.
Pride got hurt.
Yeah. So we finally figured out what happened to those divisions. Now we can finally move on. Honestly, I was kind of, personally, as a fight fan, I was getting sick and tired of seeing Demetrius Johnson just run through everybody in that division.
I like that. I loved it.
So beautiful. I'm glad that he actually had a tougher step-up competition at that high level.
Next fight that is coming up is Justin Punching Bag Gaethje
versus James Vick. I know. I've met James Vick. I've done a private with him. Very cool guy. Very nice guy. I'm rooting for him. He's a local Dallas guy. But that will probably be the next fight card that we'll actually be covering. This Sunday, we're actually going to be taking a break because I'm going to be in Viva Mexico! Hey! So after that, we'll be back, talk about some random shit. Thank you guys for tuning in. If you could do us a favor, repost,
share,
like,
comment,
hate,
don't hate, appreciate,
love us, hate us.
Just drop a comment down in the comment section below telling us what you guys want to hear us talk about, fighting wise or gaming wise, movie wise. If you guys want to hear us cover some upcoming movies that are coming out or talk about some video games, me whooping up on Nation some more, whatever you want.
Yeah, we've said before, we're going to be talking about things of all sorts of topic. Last week I said jack of trades. What I meant to say was a jack of all trades type of podcast. And
he totally meant Jack Trades.
I said Jack Trades podcast. But, we've had some pretty interesting fights that were important for the divisions back to back, and this one was one that really filled up the whole podcast. But we're gonna have some interesting stories coming up. We're really fortunate to have this podcast up and going, and we're having fun with it. Thank you guys so much. Bye bye.